Hello and welcome back for another company webcast featuring PolyPid, which trades under the ticker PYPD on the NASDAQ. For today's discussion, Dikla Axelbrad, CEO of PolyPid, will be taking us through the slide presentation, followed by a brief Q&A discussion. With that, let's get started. Dikla, welcome.
Hi, well, thank you and good day, everyone. So PolyPid, as Ben presented us, we are a biotech company, a biopharma company, focusing on improving surgical outcome and utilizing our unique platform technology that allows for prolonged local delivery. When we are referring to prolonged local delivery, we are looking at timeframes that goes from weeks to months if needed. Our lead product, the D-PLEX 100, is now in phase 3 trial after a positive interim analysis that we received literally in the last few days of the year. And within 6 months, we expect to have top-line data. Our platform is very well protected in terms of its IP, over 170 patents already granted and allowed. We are, our headquarters are in Israel, and we have offices in New Jersey. Joining me today is Ori Warshavsky, our COO US, and he will also be available for some question and answer. So when we are talking about a matrix of platforms that allows for prolonged local delivery, what do we mean by that? How do we do that? And what we have done in a very unique way is combine two well-established technologies that are the basis for several drugs out there, polymer and lipids. And we've combined the two in a way that was never combined before, creating a matrix of thousands of alternate layers where the polymer are the backbone of this matrix, and in between you have the drugs surrounded by a lipid, whether it's an oncology agent or an anti-infective agent or any other agent, small molecules or biologics, peptides as well as antibodies. Once the drug is administered, the outer layer will be disintegrated and the drug will be released. And again and again and again, thousands of times, supporting weeks of local exposure to the drug. With that, we have initially started with developing a product to prevent surgical site infection, which have been through several phase 2 and now is ending phase 3 study, as well as a previous phase 3 study. I'll share with you some of the data, and we have a younger program in oncology, very promising as well. So what exactly is the unmet need? Where are we at to improve surgical outcome? Surgical site infection is a global problem, specifically in operation where that are more prone to infection and with patients that are more prone to infection. Overall, we are looking at 12 million procedures in the US that are covering the target market opportunity, whether in orthopedic, in large abdominal, and so on. How exactly is the drug being used with a patient at the surgery? This is taken from one of our phase 2 studies, specifically in open heart surgery, in CABG surgery. And what you will see here are the last few steps of the CABG surgery. The surgeon reconstitutes the drug. Once it's reconstituted, it's become as a paste, and it's applied all over the incision, in this case, the sternum bone and the soft tissue, in abdominal application, all over the abdominal wall. And what the surgeon is doing now is taking out the gas pad that is protecting the heart and closing the incision. From this minute, the patient has 30 days of local administration or local exposure to antibiotics. The 30 days is very important because in Most of the surgeries, or in many of the surgeries, CDC defines surgical site infection as infection that occurs within 30 days from the index surgery. But equally important, this patient has now very high local concentration of antibiotic at the site with minimal systemic exposure. The way we are presenting the drug to the site over time create a high MIC at the site that can potentially also overcome resistant bacteria. And this is really what supports the reduction in infection that we've seen all across our trial, whether it's phase 2 or phase 3, in these indications showing 50% reduction in SSI. So where we are in terms of clinical path and development, we are now running the SHIELD 2. The SHIELD 2 is a pivotal phase 3 study that is run in the US and Europe with the primary endpoint to show reduction of infection, reintervention or reoperation, and mortality within 30 days from the surgery. The study is recruiting 800 patients. We have already recruited over 630, so less than 170 patients to go. Recently, as I said, just a few weeks ago, before the end of the year, we received an interim analysis, an unblinded interim analysis with the DSMB recommending us to go to the 800, which is the first step of the sample size reassessment. And the DSMB could have sent us up to 1,100. So this is, in our view, very encouraging. We expect to have the last patient by the end of this quarter and top line on the following quarter. Skips this. Just a brief outline into SHIELD 1, our previous phase 3, which was conducted during the COVID day, which we believe had an impact on the overall infection rate that we've seen. You can see very robust data in those patients that had a more complex surgery and large incision. Overall, 54% reduction at the primary endpoint at a p-value of 0.0032. And when drilling down into the secondary endpoint, you can see that all had a meaningful effect, whether it's looking on infection solely with 55% reduction, or mortality with 40%, and reintervention as well with 55%. All will have a very substantial health economic effect. I would also point out on the data from SHIELD 1 that you could see also when looking at the broader patient population that was enrolled to the study, you could see also an effect on patient with high risk factor. So anytime that the surgery is more complex or the patient has personal risk factors, those being high BMI, smoking, COPD, diabetes, hypertension, there is a high need for additional support, for additional localized surgical site support. Let's move on to the market opportunity. Ori, would you like to take everyone through this?
Yes, absolutely. So we are looking at quite a large market, and you see the numbers here. If I focus on the US, so the total addressable market, 12 million surgeries, which is devised of about half of it is the abdominal surgeries, gynecology surgeries. These are surgeries where there's a high risk of infection. The other half is more bone-related surgeries, joint replacement, open heart surgeries, maybe not as a high infection rate, but if there is an infection, the consequence of an infection is really a terrible one. For example, in open heart surgery, if there is an infection, there is a 40% chance of mortality. If there's an infection in a hip replacement, the cost can come up to $60, $70, even $100,000 of cost. because of multiple weeks in the hospital, multiple surgeries, multiple reinterventions by the surgeon. So really, there's a clear need both from a risk of infection and from a cost perspective. Beyond these 12 million surgeries, what's not in this number and is additional layer of expansion of this market is about 1 million C-sections a year in the US. And if you think of the emergency C-sections, when there is no time to prep the mother, there's no time to give IV antibiotics and do all the procedures before the surgery, this is exactly where there's a room for a product that is given during or towards the end of the surgery, like T-Plex. So this is the overall market. When we look at pricing, and this will connect to this market research, we're looking at around $600 per vial, and in open surgery, it's between 2 to 3 vials per surgery. So on average, somewhere between $800 to $2,000 per procedure. So quite a substantial market. What we see from a market access and kind of a payer perspective, this product is a little bit different than let's call it regular products. Because it's a prevention and because the SSIs are part of the hospital-acquired infections, our conversation is really always with the hospital and less with the payer. And what this means is in inpatient surgeries, the insurance pays a pre-agreed sum for the hospital. For example, a colorectal resection, the insurance pays $100,000 per procedure. Now, if the procedure went well and the patient left on time, the hospital makes money. If there's an infection and now the patient is another 10 days in the hospital and that costs $25,000 to treat, that entire cost is completely borne by the hospital. So a direct impact of infection, direct impact on the margins of the hospital. That's why our conversation is with the hospital, explaining why adding another prevention tool, another layer of protection to the patient has direct impact on the cost of the hospital. In addition to that, there are indirect costs like programs put in place by CMS for improvement on quality and reduction of infection. And all hospitals need to report their infection rates, and then the bottom quartile, let's call it the worst offenders in terms of infection, get penalized on all of their Medicare reimbursement for the year. So this can mean quite a heavy penalty in the millions of dollars. So on that said, we are saving money for the hospital. On the other hand, and this is the right side of this chart, is we are eligible for the NTAP program. NTAP stands for New Technology Add-on Payment, which means that the hospital can get reimbursed up to 75% of the cost of the drug. So on one hand, we're saving money for the hospital. On the other hand, the impact of using the product is relatively minor compared to some of the other products in this space. Next slide, please, Dikla. Our strategy overall is to partner, to find local partners to commercialize the product. We're looking for partners that know the way around the hospital, know how to talk to surgeons, really understands the space. And we already signed our first commercial agreement with Advanced Pharma for the commercial rights in all of Europe. So Advanced Pharma, which has significant presence in hospitals in Europe, they have a few anti-infectives in their portfolio. So really an ideal profile of what type of partner that we're looking for. And this is a deal that is valued in over $115 million in upfront payment and development and milestone payments. In addition to that, there's a royalty piece, royalties on sales. There's a minimum commitment for sales. We are the manufacturer, so there's a margin on the transfer price as well. So overall, really a structured deal that we like, and this is what we're looking forward to replicate in the US, of course, and then in some of the other markets as well. Next slide. So putting aside D-Plex for a second, we are in terms of kind of our commercial strategy, D-PLEX is the first product, but then we have pipeline products, additional products that are in the pipeline. And our approach is two ways. One is taking, just like with D-PLEX, taking an all generic product and then improving the efficacy with our delivery platform. And the other approach is what you see in the slide here, is taking an innovative product that maybe has challenges with half-life or with local concentration or with toxicity, and then using our platform to improve the outcome. And what you see here is an R&D collaboration we announced with Immunogenesis a few weeks ago. Immunogenesis is a Houston-based company, a STING agonist molecule that is based from MD Anderson technology. And basically, the collaboration is designed in a way that Immunogenesis will bring us their STING molecule. We will encapsulate it in our platform to create a prolonged release, a high concentration prolonged release, and then Immunogenesis will test this in animal models. And again, the idea is that what Immunogenesis saw is their STING molecule works well, but they have issues with half-life. They have issues to maintain high concentration at the tumor level, and because of the sensitivity of the molecule. And this is exactly what we bring in. We are able to encapsulate and release over a long period of time the molecule. Next page. Just one word on manufacturing, and then I'll bring back to Dikla. So we are fully backwards integrated. We have our own manufacturing suite in Israel, fully GMP, went through the European inspection recently, has enough capacity for the commercial manufacturing demand for D-PLEX, both in US, in Europe, and in the rest of the world. Dikla? Dikla, you're on mute.
So thank you, Ori. Just before opening the discussion for question and answer, I want to point out that in conjunction to the interim data that we've published at the end of the year of last year, we've also raised close to $15 million from the investors that are listed here. And we also granted the investors warrant worth over $26 million that are exercisable within 10 days post the top line data. So the idea here is that the company is fully funded with those funds up until NDA approval. Ben, would you?
Right. Well, thank you for that. Wanted to ask a few questions here while we have some time. You put out some good news about a couple of weeks ago on the phase 3 Shield 2 trial. Can you talk a little bit more in detail about what your expectations were, what the results say, and what the path forward is? Right.
So the study was designed in such a way that we could have have the study between 630 patient to 1,100. That's the overall sample size that was possible. And after 430 patient, we had the DSMB evaluate an unblinded interim analysis to better sample size the study. And they came out with a positive feedback that we should continue and go to 800 patient. From our perspective, this is indicative of a couple of things. First, that there was a meaningful effect with the 430 already. Second, safety, there were no safety issue. So that's another positive feedback. And that now the probability of success of this study has increased substantially.
Okay. And so help us through sort of some of the milestones and inflection points over the next 6 to 9 months.
Right. So obviously the most important milestone will be during the second quarter, where we will publish a top-line result. Investor can evaluate and see that we are on track also by seeing the feedback that we recruited last patient in during the first quarter. So they should see us reporting last patient in at the first quarter and top line at the second quarter. In parallel to that, as we also said last year, that we expect to see a collaboration agreement, and we've signed with Immunogenesis towards the end of the year. We expect to continue on this effort during 2025, both on D-Plex as well as pipeline product.
Great. And want to talk about the balance sheet and your cash balance, healthy cash balance, and with the warrants, that's enough to kind of get you to the next level here. And you have some great investors, fundamental healthcare funds that have participated not only in this last round, but the round before that. What are they seeing? What is the opportunity that they're seeing that makes them so keen to continue to support the company?
So, a couple of things. Everything that you've said is correct, and they have participated in few rounds since we've initiated the phase 3. I believe that what they've been seeing, that first of all, they liked the story when we started the phase 3. From their perspective, everything that they were expecting is now validated with the interim, and the risk is lower now. The chances of this product getting to the market and getting to the market soon have increased. That's one thing. They also see the company and the way we operate. And we are very pleased to welcome, we will be welcoming one of the partner at AIGH to the board following this round. I think he will be a great addition and guidance to us. So together we can pursue the company to where it should be.
Yeah, that's great. We are out of time. I thank you, Dikla, for your time, and everyone who's watching. If you have any questions or would like to schedule a meeting with PolyPid, please send me an email at shamsian@lythampartners.com. That's SHAMSIAN@lythampartners.com. We have additional presentations and chats coming up next, so please stick around for more. And thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of the day.